Hi everyone, Chillax here, and welcome back to another Anchor Panic video. So today's video will mark part 5 out of a 15-part series in which I go over, in chronological order, every unreleased CN operator that we can look forward to in the future for global server. And I have to give a huge shout out to Kwa, who is our CN player, our guru, who without him taking time out of his day upon my request to take screenshots of the kit, signature Sigil, and Ascension 6 of all 15 unreleased CN operators. If he didn't take the time to do that, these videos wouldn't have been possible. And of course, without me, these videos wouldn't be possible because holy smokes, these translations are really hard to do. So, I'd greatly appreciate if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It will make me feel better about all the time it takes to prepare these videos. But honestly, it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm really curious about what all of these new operators do. So without further ado, let's begin. Of course, as we see before you, we have Cardiac, a fire defender, and this is the event page of her. I like to show you guys the event pages because it shows the splash art in all its glory, like magnified. And as you can see before you, she looks to be a mermaid because she has gills behind her ears, and her dress kind of makes me think of a koi fish, like a red koi fish. So I think her character design is really nice. The artists really, went the extra mile with the concept art for her. And of course, we're going to go over her skins, which are very spicy. So let's do that right now. Alongside her initial release, she came with another skin, a bondage skin. Holy smokes. Yeah, definitely hotness to the extreme. Yeah, send you to the hospital, right? And then about 6 months later, they released a more tame skin. It was very cute. So she has a body pillow of you. Yeah, that's actually what the MC looks like. We look like Giga Chads in the game, guys. Yeah, definitely goals. I'm gonna look like that someday. You'll watch. Yeah, so that's her second skin. And then almost a year after her release, actually, I want to say this was released 2 weeks ago in the CN server, a really hot skin that took forever to find the uncensored version for. Oh my god. Yeah, so I think the concept behind this is that she was preparing cake for your birthday, and she landed on the cake. So that's kind of the idea. This was heavily censored in the initial advertisement, and I actually don't even remember where I found this uncensored skin. It wasn't even on the JP side, I don't think, because I checked. Yeah, so this might not be as high resolution as I would like, but yeah, I managed to get it, so yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So let's get to the meat of this video, which is what she does, right? I'm sure you guys are curious by now. Yes, so let me switch over. Okay, centering looks good. So let's first move over to our character page. So this is what you can expect from the character page. I didn't realize how little she was wearing because, in the concept art, it goes from the back view. But yeah, this is the front. She's really hot, I think. Yeah, and so like I mentioned before, she's a fire defender, and her banner when she comes out will be a standard banner. I'm actually double checking with Qua right now to confirm which heroes are limited, which are standard. Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from him. I think the only hero I'm not sure about is the final unreleased CN operator, Lyrewood, who is a nature healer. I need confirmation as to whether she's limited or not. But essentially, with her being in a standard banner, it means that you shouldn't have FOMO when she releases, because she will automatically be added to the rate up pool of heroes who you can fail the 50-50 on whenever you summon for a rate up banner. So I always include that for this reason. Okay, so going over her talent 1. So talent 1, Scorching Echo. At the start of battle, Cardiac applies an Ember Flame to herself, the ally with the lowest HP, and the ally with the highest attack. Now, one thing that is unclear to me is what happens if you have an ally who has both the lowest HP and the highest attack, because some DPSs might be like that, and I don't have an answer to that with the translation, and it doesn't specify about stacking, so I don't know. Targets affected by Ember Flame gain a shield that scales off of 24% of her max HP, so this is a pretty sizable shield. A typical defender who is well developed will have anywhere between 50k to 60k HP, so a quarter of that is going to be like an additional, it's going to be like a 15k shield approximately. While Ember Flame is active, they gain 3 instances of damage reflection and 1 instance of negative status immunity. So this is really good, you know why? So, you know, Cardiac, first of all, she's the first tank that can reflect damage. Okay, so that's one thing I want to emphasize, and this is done via Ember Flames. The second thing I want to mention is that up until this point, the only operator who could really prevent, or actually I should say this, up until this point we have Centuria, who is an SR quantum healer who can heal off negative statuses. And then I believe we also have like 1 or 2 new operators that I've mentioned in the past who can prevent. Oh, yeah, I remember now. So the previous defender, the Ice Defender, Plenilune, she was able to remove negative statuses from herself. And I think there may have been 1 other operator. I don't remember at this point. But yeah, Cardiac is another one who can do it, and she can apply it for her allies as well as herself. And this lasts for 2 turns. The damage reflection will reflect 18% of incoming damage, pierces shields, I don't know what that means, and cannot exceed 24% of her max HP per reflection instance. This is really interesting, you know why? Because the harder the enemy hits you, the more reflect damage that will go back to the enemy. But of course, it will be capped by her max HP, and so it's not going to get to ridiculous numbers. But if you build your Cardiac super thick, you know, with a lot of HP, then it's entirely possible these instances of damage reflection can become significant over time. Now for her talent 2, Kindled Restraint, within the same turn, Cardiac applies Scorch Mark to enemies she attacks. Okay, so this is a debuff. Scorch Mark gains 1 stack each time the enemy takes attack damage. Yeah, so Cardiac, when she attacks enemies, will apply a Scorch Mark, and this mark will generate 1 stack each time enemy takes attack damage, with a maximum of 4 stacks per target per turn. When Cardiac or Ember Flame affected allies are attacked by the enemies with these Scorch Marks, the damage they take is reduced by 8% per Scorch Mark stack on that enemy. I like this a lot because flavor-wise it goes with the theme of a defender, right? The whole point of a defender is to keep your allies alive. And while she is not taking damage for the ally like Plenilune would do, she has her own ways of keeping them alive. So I like this a lot. Yeah, so that's the Scorch Mark for you. Basic attack is just basic attack. Skill 1, Smoldering Respite. So deals AoE fire damage in a straight 4-tile line equal to 102% of her attack plus 65. The final hit applies a stack of Burn. And Burn, if I was to go into the game real quick, let me do that. So, oh, okay, yeah, sorry. So when we go into the game, we go to a fire operator, right? And then we go to this. Yeah, so Fire Operator symbolizes the power of the flame, capable of inflicting burn on enemies. Burn reduces enemy healing effectiveness and removes a percentage of the enemy shield points at the end of the turn. So that's essentially what it means. Okay, so now going back to my PowerPoint. There we go. Alright, so yeah, that's what the stack of burn means. Burn stacks can stack up to 8 times. That I did not know. And then 1 turn cooldown. Okay, now going over her energy burst. And you guys, if you followed along up until this point, you may be wondering where skill 2 is. Well, Qual forgot to send it to me, but it's okay because in global server there's no skill 2, there's only skill 1. Yeah, so we might not ever get skill 2 on the global side. Yeah, so just an FYI. And then for her energy burst, Finale of Incineration deals AoE fire damage to all enemies equal to 113% attack. Let me just make sure it's still up for you guys. Yeah. The final hit applies 1 stack of burn, stacking up to 8 times. Pulls the enemy with the highest scorch mark, stacks to the frontmost position, same row as Cardiac. If that position is already occupied, the enemy swap positions instead. So this is interesting. She's actually the first operator we've got who can actually change the position of enemies, but I don't know how easy it is to exploit this. Now, I do acknowledge that up until this point, we don't have any back row hitting enemies or operators. So it does make sense that if you're facing a problematic back row enemy that you want to bring to the front, then this is your way to do it, right? Via the energy burst. So I think it's kind of interesting. I don't think it's like super broken to my knowledge, but it can solve some issues, like if, say, you enter a PvP match and you realize right away that the positioning of your team is not optimal for against the specific formation of theirs, then you can toggle like auto on or off the energy burst to kind of manipulate the positions. But anyways, I don't know. Energy burst is alright. Okay, and then her Ascension 6, Bloom in the Flames. So when Cardiac takes lethal damage, she removes all negative status effects from herself, recovers 50%, so half of her max HP, and enters the blazing state for 2 turns. While in the blazing state, Cardiac can't die. She gains Ember Flame. Battle effect limit. This revival effect can only trigger once per battle. So I presume that at Ascension 3 she already gets the ability to cheat death. That's pretty good. I don't know how worth it is to get her Ascensions though, because assuming that we follow the release timeline of fire operators, or the release timeline, sorry, what am I talking about, of, you know, CN, like we follow it, fire is not going to, of course fire will appreciate another fire defender. Actually, it just occurred to me we'll have 2 fire defenders. I don't think this fixes the fire element. And I'm not even sure if Cardiac is better than Quasar when I think about it now. Like, yes, there's more interesting parts of her kit, like her ability to reflect damage and mitigate damage. Actually, this might be a Quasar 2.0 from an A0 point of view. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super impressed, even though I really like her character design, like the way she looks. Yeah, and then finally Signature Sigil. Let's see if this fixes anything. So, you know, as per tradition, base HP, and then Sigil effect increases non-shield damage reduction by 18%. Non-shield damage, okay. So if they break your shield, and now it's just they're hitting your HP, the damage reduction is 18%. I guess that's the way they balance it out, because 18% damage reduction is quite a lot. When equipped, by Cardiac, max HP is increased by 7.5%. When Cardiac casts her energy burst, there is a 70% chance to apply Ember Flame to herself, the ally with the lowest HP, and the ally with the highest attack. So this is an additional way to apply Ember Flame stacks besides the start of the round, right, via her talent 1. The damage reflection count granted by Ember Flame is increased up to 4 times. Okay, so now let's go over her summary and then I'll tell you what I think about her. So Cardiac, the Fire Defender summary, she is a frontline fire defender who excels at, I don't know why it says frontline, fire defender who excels at team-wide protection through HP scaling shields, damage reflection, and conditional damage reduction. At the battle start, she grants Ember Flame to herself and key allies, typically the squishier ones or the glass cannon DPSs, providing strong early shields, reflected damage, and limited debuff immunity that stabilize fragile teams. By applying scorch marks to enemies she attacks, Cardiac enables scaling damage reduction for herself as well as Ember Flame affected allies, rewarding sustained engagements. Her skill 1 offers consistent line-based AoE fire damage while stacking burn, directly feeding into her defensive and control-oriented kit. Her energy burst provides full field fire damage, burn application, enemy repositioning, giving her meaningful battlefield control beyond pure tanking. Her signature Sigil significantly enhances her role by boosting HP, non-shield damage reduction, and adding a high chance Ember Flame reapplication with increased reflection counts, greatly improving uptime and consistency. And then Ascension 6, which is pay to win, grants a once per turn death prevention and self-revive window, which improves her personal survivability but is not necessary for her core team protection function. I feel like Cardiac at A0 is kind of, she's an okay defender, but I don't think she is worth your summon tickets. If you already have like Antelope built, maybe Dawn built already, you picked up a Flicker, maybe you picked up a 1 or 2 more defenders along the way, and especially if you already have Quasar, I'm not really sure if you need Cardiac. Now granted, it doesn't hurt to have like a frontline defender and a backline defender, you know, with Quasar and Cardiac, but I feel that unless you have her Ascension 3, with her ability to like cheat death and stay on the field for 2 additional turns, right? Because we mentioned before with her Ascension, she enters a state in which she cannot die for the next 2 turns, right? I don't think even Flicker does that, because Flicker, she can cheat death once and then the enemy can KO her afterwards, sometimes within the same turn. Whereas with Cardiac, she's like a firm stop, you know. She might be in that regard the only defender who can hold the line past death for 2 additional turns guaranteed. So I kind of feel like unless you're getting her Ascension 3, I don't think that she really does anything as a defender that the other allies already do, besides the damage reflection. I think the damage reflection is probably the most unique part of her kit that other defenders, you know, do not do. So kind of interesting. Of course, she is the one who can really enable the burn archetype if you want to melt shields, decrease the enemy's survivability by decreasing their healing. I don't know how much of an impact this will have across like PvE content. Certainly in PvP it helps, given all the shielders and healers that we have in the game that can sustain the enemy team. So anyways, I'm curious to know in the comment section below, guys, what do you think of Cardiac? Maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe I've been too spoiled by Plenilune, Plenilune's kits. So anyways, guys, if you haven't already, please don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.